we begin with breaking news. The Bank of Canada is raising interest rates by 25 basis points to 0.75%. This is the first rate hike in 7 years. Ontario Finance Minister Charles Sousa plans to announce measures on Thursday aimed at addressing the Toronto region's soaring housing prices. Sweeping wildfires across British Columbia are threatening timber supplies and sending lumber prices surging. Canada Goose shares rising for a second day. The Canadian parka maker, worn by everyone from park rangers to rapper Drake, still riding high on their IPO debut on the Toronto and New York stock exchanges yesterday. Breaking news: the first round of new NAFTA talks will be held next month in Washington. The U.S., Canada, and Mexico will hold negotiations from August 16th to the 20th, says U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer. Quebec is looking to issue more bonds in foreign currencies as the federal government and other provinces crowd the Canadian debt market. 6 of Canada's largest banks had credit ratings downgraded by Moody's on concern that consumers deep in debt and high housing prices have left lenders vulnerable to potential losses on assets. I'm Christine Lee for Reuters in Times Square, where sensory overload gets supersized with this outdoor ad monitor that's 8 stories high and a giant football field long. Canadian banks and mortgage insurers are rallying against new government housing rules. Bombardier reported a wider than expected second quarter loss. De Beers is about to open the largest new diamond mine in the world right here in Canada. And Rogers Communications reported strong second quarter earnings, sending its stock soaring to a record high. Getting attention in the media capital of the world can be a challenge, so you have to be big and splashy or get passed over. I'm Christine Lee for Reuters in Times Square, where sensory overload gets supersized with this outdoor ad monitor that's 8 stories high and a giant football field long.
It's a full city block. It's 80 feet tall, 330 feet wide, 25,000 square feet.
More than 300,000 pedestrians enter this area a day, according to the Times Square Alliance, making for a captive audience for advertisers. And it's more than just busy New Yorkers rushing to grab a quick sandwich. This area is flush with tourists who have time to stop and gawk and the money to spend here in New York or when they get back home. Advertisers will have to dig deep to make it onto this big screen. It will reportedly run $2.5 million for a 4-week campaign. Who has that kind of money? Google, for one, which according to one state report will have the space for the coveted New Year's Eve ball dropping, with 1 million people crammed into this little area, looking at its ad for hours, and 1 billion people watching on TV worldwide. Clear Channel Communications, which is responsible for selling ads for the screen, confirms it has locked in one buyer through early next year, but did not name Google specifically. Funny though, with so much attention being paid to the growing ad market on small screens like this one, apparently in New York, big is still king. Shoppers will be keeping an eye on their wallets this holiday season. Nearly 60% of people surveyed by a new Reuters Ipsos poll say they're more cautious about their holiday spending because of economic uncertainty. So despite October jobs numbers and consumer confidence going up and gas prices going down, Reuters retail expert Gillian Mincer says consumers are getting smarter about spending their cash.
They're still concerned about the economy, they're still concerned about jobs and housing, and they've developed really good shopping habits. They know how to use the internet to find the best price, and they also are setting budgets. That they got used to doing that during the recession.
And it's not just shopping. 70% of people surveyed say they will not be dining out more than usual during the holidays. One issue, Mincer says, people's paychecks. Despite the lowest unemployment rate in 6 years, wages are barely budging, and that could keep many Americans watching what they spend this holiday.
Violence will not be tolerated.
The Missouri governor declaring a state of emergency Monday and activating the National Guard. This ahead of an expected grand jury decision on possible criminal charges against police officer Darren Wilson, who shot and killed unarmed teenager Michael Brown in August. Protesters clashed with police officers for several weeks after Brown's death. Civil rights activists in Ferguson say they plan more demonstrations if the grand jury drops charges against the officer. St. Louis Mayor Francis Slay says the National Guard will be on hand to support the local police.
We do not want to make this look like it's a militarization of our police department or And we want to make sure that people know that these cops are just there to keep peace, and they're not there to, clash with protesters.
There was much criticism of the local police during the summer, with cops dressed in full riot gear and armed with automatic rifles. The grand jury's decision expected any day now. President Barack Obama will unveil a controversial plan to overhaul U.S. immigration policy in a primetime address Thursday night. The president made the announcement on the White House's Facebook page, saying the system is broken.
Unfortunately, Washington has allowed the problem to fester for too long. And so what I'm going to be laying out is the things that I can do with my lawful authority as president to make the system work better, even as I continue to work with Congress and encourage them to get a bipartisan, comprehensive bill that can solve the entire problem.
Republicans have warned the president not to take unilateral action, and some have threatened a government shutdown in retaliation. The president is expected by executive action to protect millions of undocumented immigrants from deportation and provide them with work permits. Last year, the Democratic-led Senate approved bipartisan immigration reform legislation, but it was not taken up by the GOP-led House. Obama will address the nation Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Kids use it, celebrities use it, even the president uses it. But museums want to ban it.
I'm Christine Lee for Reuters at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where they've just announced a ban on the infamous selfie stick.
Museum staff say selfie sticks are a dangerous distraction to visitors and the art.
Well, we believe that the selfie stick can poke someone in the face. You don't know how long the stick is, and you can miscalculate and poke through a painting very easily.
While there haven't actually been any selfie stick accidents at the Met, museum officials say they're taking preventative action. One by one, museums across the country are banning selfie sticks, including the Smithsonian in Washington, D.C., and the Museum of Fine Arts in Houston.
While many museums say they're pro-selfie, they're just not pro-selfie stick. They say selfies can be a great way for social media users to connect to the art and promote what they see to their friends. So with that in mind, let me take a selfie.